رکھیو ہمیشہ ٹھنڈک، سوتے جو ہے یہاں پر زہرا کے ہیں یہ پیارے، اے چاند کربلا کے، تسلیم و سلسبیل و کوثر کے ہیں یہ مالک، مارے گئے جو پیاسے اس نہر کے کنارے، اے چاند حر اور حبیب جیسے جانباز اور احبا مارے گئے یہیں پر انصار شاہدین کے، اے چاند پامال ہو رہی تھی قاسم کی لاش رنگ میں، عباس اور سرور چنتے تھے ان کے ٹکڑے، اے چاند بازو کٹے یہیں پر عباس باوفا کے، اذن وغا نہ پایا پانی بھی لا نہ پائے، اے چاند اس سرزمیں پہ گزرا سرور پہ یہ بھی صدمہ، سینے پہ کھائی برچی ہم شکل مصطفیٰ نے، اے چاند پانی پلانے لائے ایک مہلکہ کو سرور کی ذبح حرملا نے، تیرے سے دم لگا کے گردن چھلی پہ سر کی، بازو چدا پدر کا دونوں طرف تڑپ کر پیاسے جہاں سے گزرے، اے چاند اس بن میں ایک بچی بابا کو ڈھونڈتی تھی، اس بن میں ایک بچی بابا کو ڈھونڈتی تھی، بکھرے ہوئے پڑے تھے جب سر بریدہ لاشیں، پھر یہ بھی تو نے دیکھا وہ غم رشیدہ بچی سینے پر سو رہی تھی، بے سر پدر سے لپٹے، اے چاند بازو بندھے یہیں پر پہلے پہل حرم کے اس سرزمین سے نکلے سجاد سر جھکائے اے چاند شہزادہ جناحی مالک ہے کربلا کا کس کی مجال آئے جب پہنچے ہیں کربلا میں ناچیز سبت جعفر اے کاش پھر مقدر ہم کو یہ دن دکھائے اے چاند کربلا کے درود بھیجو محمد
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Okay, the thing which is the territory being fought over is the heart, the qalb. What is the heart? What is the qalb? Let's go back a few paces. If you look in the mirror to ask the question, who am I? You can choose. Do I identify myself with the physical thing I see or the non-physical thing I don't see? Or some people look at themselves and say, I am exactly as I look, and they determine themselves by their physical appearance. They think of themselves how they look. They think their primary identity is the color of their skin, how large they are, how small they are, what gender they are, how attractive they are, how strong they are, these things. And they think the whole identity is their body. Okay, but let's ponder on this for a moment. The human body is made of cells, and each cell of the body at some point will be destroyed and new cells will take its place. I think every 8 to 10 years, all the cells which can be renewed are renewed in the body. So you could say physically you are a completely different composition within 8 years. A person's face could change, a person could lose hair, gain hair, a person could have different color beard, a person could change their body with medical, non-medical, so many things. When you look in the mirror, would you say that in the last 8 years I'm a whole new person now? When you can't say it, you say I've changed, but I'm still the same person. Even if all these cells have changed, I wear different clothes now, what happens? All those things have altered, but I am not the experience of my appearance anymore, I'm something more. Okay. Death is like this as well. People who are despondent at death are so because they think I've lived my whole life in this dunya, and I'm not ready to experience a whole new life. What they don't realize is when you look in the mirror, the thing which is you is not your physical appearance, it's your heart, your soul, your nafs, your mind, your aql. But you can't see those things. Because we can't see them, we don't think that's my identity. But that is more you than your physical body, because that endures. That was there before you're born, it's there after you die. Death is a very good example. Before you're born on this world, your soul existed, but your body was not here. And Alam al-Arwah or Alam al-Dhar, before this world, there was only a soul, there was no body of you. Okay, then you were born. Allah chose for each of us a set of parents and gave us those parents, and He gave with it the libas of jism, the clothing of a body, the body of this world. We live through life, either we treated our body well or we treated it badly, and that body decayed, and at some point that body died. Now what happens? We're given a new body, just like this body was given, it's taken, it rots, it decays in the ground, and the body of barzakh is given to us. It's called jism mithali. I have a new body now, and for the entirety of the period of barzakh, this soul, same soul, has a new body. Then I die in barzakh as well, that body loses, and I get a new body, the body of the day of Qiyamah. That body is more closely linked to our actions. So how we acted, that body reflects it. There are many narrations on this. But then that body goes away again as well, and I get a new body, the body of either Jannah or Jahannam. Now some ulama discuss, do you get a body or do you have no body, the physical, non-physical, in any case. Let's say you get a body. That's not the same body you have in this world. It looks like in your life you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different bodies for one ruh. Are you really this body, or are you that soul which endures through all 6 stages? You are of course the soul which endures. That's why the scholars say death to us should be like changing clothes. You were given one clothing, you took it off, and now you wear a new one, because you're not attached to the clothing, because you know you don't belong to the place of the clothing. It's just cloth. And the same narrations tell us that death is to some people death is painful like the pulling of skin, because they believe they belong to this dunya. So they made their clothing their skin, and now when they realize they're going to a whole new world, it is stripped from them like skin is stripped from bone. Whereas the Imam said, live such a life you are not attached to this dunya. It is like changing from one libas to another. Sallallahu alaihi Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
So you and I, we are not our body. I think we know this quite clearly. We are our soul. Now in the books and in the Quran, you find various words to describe your immaterial self. Sometimes it's qalb, sometimes ruh, sometimes nafs, sometimes aql. Different words used for them. Allama Tabatabai says all these words, when used in a general sense, responds to only one thing: your one immaterial self, your true identity, the real you. That immaterial thing no one sees, that's who you are. Sometimes Quran calls it nafs, amar, which is a different thing. Sometimes it's called ruh, aql, different words, but it's one thing: your true identity. Okay. This identity of ours is our real self. Have you thought about this before? That this self of yours is so valuable, the whole world is fighting over it. This immaterial self. Allah wants it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purchased it from souls. Iblis wants it for your whispered by the different devils that come towards you. This dunya wants it because it's constantly pulling you towards the life of this world. Your desires want it as well. Your shahwat, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your touch, because they're pulling you towards their own happiness, their gratification. Ali Muhammad wants it too. I mentioned it yesterday. And do they not say that all our Shias are made from us, so they love us naturally? They want it as well. You are so important. Everyone wants you for themselves. All of existence, all of creation is fighting over you. The sharaf, the level of insan is the highest level. Imam Ali is attributed to have said that you think you are small, but within you is an entire universe inside of you, but you don't see. Your sickness is from you and the cure is from you. You are the tafsir of the book which is revealed, all inside you, but you don't see. If we look deeper within us, there is everything we know about dwelling about Billah and Karbala. It's all in here. And we have to look deeper. But what did we do? We forgot we were worth fighting for. We forgot that we were fighting for. He goes to a battle. If Imam himself said, fight for me, you'd think I want to fight for him. He's telling it to us now, do jihad and nafs. And I gave up the fight at some point by the indulgence of sins that no one knows that I did. Imam Musa al-Qadim alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
He mentioned the hadith which we pray you can understand it because it is heartbreaking. He says, if insan knew their own value, they would see sins as less worth doing.
Subhanallah.
If you knew how much you are worth,
Subhanallah,
you would see how high you are and how low sins are compared to you. And yet I still commit sins. Something's not right. Either I thought those sins were large, or I thought I was nothing, I was little, and I was not worth defending from those sins. See your true value. You are worth much more than the ill deeds that you do. I should be more than the worst thing that I did today. I should be worth so much more than this. And only through ma'rifat of this battle of the qalb, we realize there are two forces fighting for the heart. I should see myself as worth winning in this victory. What are those two forces? What do they want from us? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Those of you who were yesterday heard mention a narration from our fifth Imam when he says that the main narration which I'm coming from, which is inside there are two forces, each of them fighting for battle of the heart. Whichever one wins the insan. That's the narration. What are those two forces? The first of them could be called aql or reason or nur in different narrations. This is the part of you inside which is in your fitrah to turn back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one taught us this. It was already inside us. It's a voice. Quran mentions Rahman Rahim. سَنُرِيهِمْ آيَاتُنَا فِي الْآفَاقِ وَفِي أَنفُسِهِمْ. There are some signs of ours we put in your own selves and in the horizons. Yani you go through life trying to piece together within yourself, I have a creator, I have a Lord, He's made me for a reason, but that's inside you. This is your fitrah. Fitrah is our innate nature, it's not taught. In our fitrah there is that voice which is constantly calling back towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know you know that voice because we hear it often. When there's an evil deed in front of us and there's one voice that says don't do that deed, that voice comes from our fitrah. When you go to a place of ibadah and feel at home, that's your fitrah, because you feel, I belong here, there's God's worship, it's that light inside. And that's why it's called nur in our books as well. Inside you there's a nur, and that nur is constantly calling you towards goodness. Now this nur, this light in you, is a voice, but also it's an army in itself. And it has a function, and the function is to receive as much iman as it can. The more iman it receives, it grows in number and controls the heart. You know there's that black spot which is being fought over the qalb I mentioned yesterday. The eradication of the black spot is the increase of good amal salih, because then this army wins. Which army? Army of aql, army of nur, army of amal salih.
MashaAllah.
We should never think we've achieved it. There's always more to add to this army. Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, amanu. Oh, people don't believe more. Don't think you're already believers amanu. Amanu, believe more. Quran mentions about these people, about the role of the heart in this way. That كتب الإيمان على قلوبهم وعيده بروح منه. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says Iman is written on the qalb, it's written down, it's inscribed within the chest of insan. كتب الإيمان على قلوبهم في قلوبهم. Iman, real faith, is not something you have on your tongue or your lips or on your hands. Iman is inside you.
Subhanallah.
It's written inside your qalb. Wherever you go, it goes with you. وَأَيَّدْ مِنْ رُوح, and it's helped by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He gives you more. Ayyad means He strengthens you to win that battle of the heart. So what's one army? Army of nur, army of light, amal salih, good deeds. Iman belongs in this army. And Ahlul Bayt are for this army as well. All of the du'as we read, du'a kumail, du'a tawassul, why are we reading these du'as? To strengthen this army. We have to link all these deeds together. The tasbih that we do, salat, all these things are for one reason alone, to increase the quality and quantity of soldiers of nur in your heart.
Beshak.
But this army is not alone. It has been created, you've been created with a tendency towards another force. That force has a strong right for the same qalb, and neither can exist in the same heart. Rasulullah has said, the salawat please.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Love for Allah and love for the dunya cannot exist in the same heart. They can't coexist together. There's no peace treaty between them. There is conflict. And the second force is this force, the nafs al-ammara bis-suh. Or sometimes it's called jahl, or sometimes it's called dhulam. Different words for it. But again, you know what it means. It's that tendency inside of us to go towards our lowest base desires to satisfy our heart. Filling our hearts with sins and evil deeds, and going towards many times what the senses want. I had mentioned yesterday a narration where Ali says, I stood at the gates of my heart and I let nothing in except Allah. You remember that narration? Ali says, I stood at the gate of my heart and let nothing in except Allah. The gate of your heart is whatever you allow inside. Now that gate could be your senses, literally your eyes, what you see, what you touch, what you hear, what you go towards, what you taste. That gate could be what you listen to, what you look at, what you think and what you do. That gate is your free will. Sometimes I use my free will for my desires. I look at that which would make the shahawat satisfied. I touch that which makes them satisfied. I'm doing continuously things and I don't realize these things are gathering somewhere, they're building up. Here's where it builds up in the heart. Because when you do something repeatedly, it becomes part of you. That's why we do istighfar so deeply. Imam Hassan says istighfar is for you to cut away the sins you made part of your flesh. That's why it hurts sometimes to pray, because you are literally cutting things away from you. Mukhalisun fi lahmuk, it's become mixed with your flesh. And it should not be part of you, it's been mixed into your heart. This heart, which is like this, Quran calls marad. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضًا فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, there's a sickness in their heart. It's become filled with sin. And now it no longer looks towards Allah with joy anymore. And when they're suffering, it no longer responds to suffering. It becomes dead. And Allah increases its deadness because they do evil deeds that they do continuously. The stage is set then. We know what these two armies are. One wants Allah, one wants this dunya and desires. It's clearly they can't be compatible together. The next question is, what do we do to make sure the first army defeats the second army? Islam in many ways has given us tactics and strategies of winning the war of the heart. Actual strategies. In an actual battle, you don't just send two armies out and expect them to fight it out and see who wins. You have plans and strategies and schemes. You organize, you have discipline, and through the strength of the organization of one army, the other one can be defeated. A small amount can easily be a large amount if their tactics are ready and are correct. Islam gives us strategies for purging the heart of ill. This is called tahliya. And it gives strategy for entering into the heart of goodness. It's called tazkiyah. Through this constant process, you are emptying your heart of evil and filling it with good. I won't go into too much, but the idea from the ulama is through a constant process of emptying the heart and filling the heart, emptying and filling the heart, you can start to change the balance within your qalb that nur is winning against dhulam. And if we do this, we will look inside and see I'm someone who has conquered his heart for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that black spot goes away. That's why they say insan can be ma'soom. Not ma'soom like Ahlul Bayt or Anbiya. Ma'soom where you no longer want to do sin anymore because you're not allowed into your heart the desire for sin. This battle determines that answer. Sallallahu alayhi Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Now let's go all the way back to the first narration I mentioned. The enemy come back from fighting. And they have, in their mind, they are so proud of their achievement. MashaAllah, we have fought so greatly. And the Prophet says, what you have done is little compared to what remains yet in your heart. There is a link, I need your attention to this point because the rest of it comes from this point. There's a link between what you do out there and what happens inside. There's a link between these two things. How well you fight on the battlefield, whether you are there doing deeds in the battlefield, comes from whether or not you are winning in the battle within. If someone is not winning in their internal struggle, you will not find them on the front line of Islam. You will not find them doing amal salih. You won't find them going towards ziyarah doing these good deeds because they're not winning inside. Why would they win outside? If someone's winning outside and you see them every battle, Rasulullah gives the same banner to the same man, you must know he's conquered his heart for Islam. This is where we see Ali ibn Abi Talib's true fada'il.
Subhanallah.
It's not just the case that he is so brave on the battlefield. People say, how great is Ali? At Khaybar he lifts the door with one hand. At Khandaq he's kull iman. At Uhud he doesn't run away, he defends the Prophet. At Badr he has wounds on his whole body but not on his back. They say this. And they say also, how great Ali that he prays so much to Allah. He was born in the Kaaba, he does ibadah. But that's not the case that he's great. Because he does this and this. We should say, Ali is great at Khaybar because he's great in his ibadah. Ali is a warrior during the day because he's a worshipper in the night. Ali is Sayfullah at night in the day when he's fighting because he's Abdullah at night. These things, where did he become a warrior from if not Tahajjud and Salat al-Layl? You see the link between these two things. If he didn't win his heart, why would he win out there on the battlefield? When Sharif Radi wrote Nahj Balagha, when they compiled it, his friend said, we were surprised. How can one man be the one who it looks like really Nahj Balagha? He is some wise mystic who lives alone, he knows speak all day speak on Allah, Allah, Allah. And yet he's the same Ali who's at Khaybar. How? What man can be like this who can bring these two things together? Only Ali bin Abi Talib. But ask, why is he so great on the battle? Because of what he did to his qalb. The man who says, I saw nothing except I saw Allah before, during and after. Now we know what it means. He genuinely believed it. So when the time came, who else is going to get the banner of Khandaq except Ali ibn Abi Talib? Who else? The one who has sold himself to God, or the one who runs away from the battlefield? Think about it logically. Okay, why is Ali so great? Because of his worship. From worship comes all of his fadilah. I'll give you one example. One day a man walks and sees Ali ibn Abi Talib lying alone in the forest. His body is stiff, it doesn't move. It looks like he's died. The man runs back and says, Ali ibn Talib has been killed. People say, what do you mean he's been killed? He goes to the house of Fatima and says, have you not heard? Ali has been killed. I just saw him lying there, motionless, still, nothing moving around him. You could come to him, he wouldn't even notice you. Zahra says, why do you say he's died? This is how he worships Allah.
Subhanallah.
He prays Allah like this. Not just today, every day you'll find him. He's obsessed in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Subhanallah.
This is the worship of Ali. When he goes to pray, he starts sweating and his body starts shivering. They say, Ya Ali, you are Abu Turab. Why are you shivering towards Allah? Were you not the same one who defeated the enemies? He says, Allah gave us an amanat. Even the mountains could not bear the amanat, nor the oceans. And I've been given it. I'm nervous to give it back to Allah when I worship Him. This ibadat is why he is Haydar al-Karrar. Not he's Haydar and he's Abd. He's Abd and then he becomes Haydar. Do you see the thing? So in the beginning of Islam, when there's no battles, why are they already scared of him? Why do they say we were scared of him in our youth? There's no battle. Because when they saw his loyalty with the Prophet, they realized this man cannot be shaken with dunya. Nothing can move him. So when Muawiyah says to one of the companions, Darar, and says, describe Ali to me, who is Ali? The man says, you know what Ali was? Every night I saw he'd be in worship like a mother crying for their child. That's Ali. He would walk as if he's wounded when speaking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He'd hold his beard and look towards the skies and says, I'm so fearful of the one I pray towards. Muawiyah is listening. Then he says, you know who Ali is? I'll tell you who Ali is. When he prayed, he would say to himself, how small is this dunya that comes towards me? It comes towards me and I go away from it. It offers me little, I go towards much. Then he says, oh dunya, why do you come towards me when I have already divorced you 3 times? Go misguide someone else. Only an Ali like this can become Haydar al-Karrar. Do you see now? It's because of this. Then he says, now these words are beautiful. Ali says, when he mentions narration, he says, the journey is long, the provision is little, the company is few, but how great is the destination.
Allah Akbar.
I'll say it again, the journey is so
Subhanallah.
long towards Allah.
Subhanallah.
The company of those who go with you are so few, the provision is so little. But the destination is worth traveling towards. This is Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now he comes to the battlefield. Now you understand why he can motivate those around him, because they see if he can worship 1,000 rak'at, he can motivate us on the battlefield, he'll take us towards victory. You would fight for someone like this, you would die for someone like this, because you've seen how much he worships Allah. How can he not be on haqq when fighting in the battlefield? I'll mention to you one khutbah from Nahj Balagha. When Islam sees Muhammad al-Hanafi at Battle of Jamal, and he's trying to motivate him to keep fighting. And he says these words to make sure he doesn't go away from his battle. He says to him, Ya Muhammad, mountains might move from their position, but you will not move from yours. Even if mountains move, you will remain firm. Keep your head firm towards Allah. Keep your teeth together. Keep ready for the battlefield. Don't give up. Keep your eyes towards the furthermost enemy, not the nearest one. Look at the whole battlefield. Then he says, your feet should be firm like mountains on the ground. Nothing should move them. And say to Allah, I am going towards my Lord, and Nasr bin Fatul Kharib. The victory is near from God. Like this. Then he says to him, don't be afraid for a second. For if you are afraid for even one moment, they'll know. And they'll see it in the way your footsteps falter. Muhammad, I have never faltered when I have fought. And you are my son. So when you fight, think of akhirah. Don't think of that fear. Ask yourself, if you had Ali speak to you like this, how much love would that give you? How much strength would that give you?
Subhanallah.
Would you ever think of running from the battlefield when Ali's just told you, you are like a mountain in my eyes? Anything could move, but you won't move. Now ask them, if I would fight for Ali like this and not run from the battlefield, why would I run from this battlefield?
MashaAllah.
If I'm a mountain out there, I should be a mountain inside as well. If my face is towards Allah there, my face should be towards Him when no one's looking at me. Why are we not like this? I think to be a true follower of Islam means to be like a soldier inside, not outside. Because when the time comes outside, I'm ready for outside, because I've spent my whole life preparing for this one battle. This one battle again and again and again. And it was a difficult battle, it was hard. The nation says what? It's like a black spot in your heart. Sometimes you will have the black spot larger and smaller, it's true. But if I have tawakkul, I can win this battle. Now come to Karbala. All those who fight for Abu Abdullah are those who've already conquered their hearts for Allah. Before Ashura, they were already ready. When the time came for fighting, it was not a new thing for them to go to Abu Abdullah. They ran towards Abu Abdullah. Those fighting against him have already sold their soul towards Shaitan or Iblis or towards their desires. So when Abu Abdullah says to them, am I not your Imam? They're like, you are our Imam, but we can't fight for you. They've already sold themselves to someone else. One person sends himself towards Ibn Ziyad because he has loyalty with him. He sold himself towards his government. One person sends himself towards his desires. One person towards territory. Umar ibn Sa'ad towards Ray, he wanted a land. He sold himself for that land. They all sold themselves for something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he's speaking, it's as if they can hear him, but I'll give you a few examples now that I mention him. There's a narration that while he's fighting, literally while he's fighting and everyone has left him, Sayyid Zainab calls out to Umar ibn Sa'ad, do you not know this is Hussein that you are killing? He starts crying when he hears this. Umar ibn Sa'ad, who we do la'araf all the time, he cries when Zainab tells him this is Hussein. But then he turns away and moves away from her. Because he's already chosen who he sold his soul to. He knows who's more worth selling to. He cries when he realizes what he's doing. But he ignores those tears and goes towards the end. Shimr, the same thing. About that situation while fighting him, what did I do wrong that you may kill me? When he says this, and he says a few more words, he says those words, if you have no fear of Allah or the afterlife, at least be free in this world. Shimr says, I don't even understand what you're saying to me. There are some people who are, the Quran says, La yafqa'oon. They don't understand anymore because of what they've done to themselves. Shimr has sold himself to his desires so much, he doesn't understand words in front of him anymore. There are people like this. The whole army are like this. I'm not doing Masad now, but I think they have seen so much dhulm and they have still killed Abu Abdullah. Something's wrong with their qalb. Something's wrong with them. Now come to Abu Abdullah's army. They have sold themselves for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Completely. So if the lights are closed and they are told, anyone can leave and still have Jannah, no one leaves. They've sold themselves for Jannah already. What more is there to run away from? Do you see the difference in them? They have already given themselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you see in their words, Burayd, one of the companions, says these words after the 9th night of Muharram. He says to Abu Abdullah, Ya Abu Abdullah, when he's told, if you are Burayd, you can leave. He says, Ya Abu Abdullah, if my body was torn into 1,000 pieces, not a single piece would leave your side tomorrow. If it was 1,000, not a single piece would abandon you tomorrow. He has already, before Ashura, he's achieved the level of Shahadat in his qalb. He's ready to fight and die for Abu Abdullah. Habib Noha, same thing. They say, Zainabia, when she's looking at Karbala, she's saying to Abu Abdullah, I'm worried about the companions, would they abandon me the way Imam Ali? His companions abandoned him. Habib hears this. He goes to Zainab, he brings all those with him and says to them, take out your swords, take out your spears. He says, Ya Ibn Zahra, these are not our swords, these are your swords. These are not our spears, they are your spears, they are your shields. We are at your disposal. Think of the mentality of that soldier, of Habib. Is there really a man left who's fighting because he wants money or wealth? No, a man has given himself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So his sword's not his sword anymore, it's Zainab's sword. His shield is not his shield, there's no self left to defend, there's only Ali Muhammad left to defend. If you want to see the balance of the black spots, go again to Hur. The link between inside and outside is Hur. When he says those words, Inni akhayru nafsi baina al-janni wal nar, I place my soul between heaven and hell. This is the qalb. You can literally see the black spot inside. I place myself in between two of them. There is this spot inside, and I can choose. The one force destroys the black spot, one force makes the whole heart black. What one do I choose? And he chooses Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. Now, from inside, now you see the outside. He chooses the inside, I go for Abu Abdullah, he rides towards Hussein alayhi salam. This is the transition between the inside and the outside. We need the same thing. That I have in my heart a constant battle, but I can't let it be the end. The true end is acting on the battle and fighting on the battle outside, going towards your Imam alayhi salam. And I'll say this last point to all of you. The best reminder of the battle we have today is this Majlis and Azadari. Majlis Hussein has preserved this whole, the idea I'm talking about only comes from Majlis. How? Sallallahu alayhi wa Muhammad.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
One small example I'll give to you about how this Majlis reminds us Karbala is about a battle, not just about mourning. They're linked together. Example to all of you. Why do we do matam? Put a matam. They say to us, why do you do matam? Why do you hit yourself? We hear it repeatedly. Now, one answer is zahir, one answer is batin. The zahir answer is simple. We mourn for Abu Abdullah. We cry for Abu Abdullah. We have been taught by our culture how to mourn for Abdullah, and we continue the same practice. Our ulama tell us, by the way, don't let go of the ways your culture teaches you to mourn for Abu Abdullah. I think Sayyid Sistani mentioned this once, where he said to those who visited him, tell them back home when you go back to the West and to your countries, don't stop the way you mourn for Abu Abdullah. Like, carry on that practice. There's barakah in this. You know barakah in matam. All of Islam was saved through Azadari. There are times, by the way, we didn't have a ulama giving majalis. We had books and libraries being destroyed. We had targets killing on all of our top scholars and marajih. But the one thing which never stopped was matam of Abu Abdullah. Even when they didn't let us gather for a long time, at least we do egg dohat matam, and that was it. And that preserves all of this faith. And there's barakah in this matam. Give you an example of this. Ayatollah Burujardi, Marja Alam, great scholar, teacher of At-Tumaini, all of them. He loses his eyesight through his life. He's in old age, losing his eyesight. And no amount of shafa'a, no dua, nothing works. No hospital, no doctor, nothing. Agha Burujardi goes outside and sees a jaloos going towards the haram. He kneels down and lifts some of the earth under the feet of the matamis. He places it on his eyes. Not only his eyesight comes back, he said, I never saw as clearly as after this day until my death.
Allahu Akbar.
No dua worked. No ayah of Quran worked. None of it worked. But when the time for matam came, Marja knelt on his knees and lifted the earth from the matamis and put it on his own face. Shafaat of matam. One answer is this. Why do we do matam? We mourn for Abu Abdullah like this. We cry for Abu Abdullah in the same way. We're shafaat barakah. But there's another answer inside. There's a batin answer. Matam reminds us of the fight within. It's not just a culture we come and stand. Why are we standing in line as if we are bunyan marsus, a line of an army? Why? Why is there one beat like the beat of drums that you have in war? Why are we all wearing black clothing like the uniform of an army? Why do we speak in one sound like we have a chant at a battle cry? Why? Why, when everything was gone, these arms remained for Azadari? Why? Because if Abbas gives his arms for his Imam, I'm basically saying, Ya Imam, I was not there to give my arms, but I will give these arms for Imam Zaman alayhi salam. And my proof is the matam. I've literally come here to prove to you, Imam, if you want to look at me, look at what I'm doing. I'm ready for our war right now. I have armor on now. I'm ready to fight. My arms are here for you. I'm speaking one voice. I have wahda with everyone. This matam is an izhar of tayari for Imam Zaman alayhi salam. If we stop at only the zahir, just the fact that it's barakah, it's true, but we've missed the whole point of Azadari, is to do tarbiyah for you for Imam Zaman alayhi salam. All of this matam, majlis, is for Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. It's to show you, if I was there, I was ready to fight. You're literally sat in armor right now. They do target killing on our masjids. Have we stopped one jaloos in Pakistan? No. Will we stop? Never. Why? Because we're ready for shahada. Let me give you one example about how the barakah of matam is not just for mourning, it's for tayari for Imam alayhi salam. There's one man in Iran. He's Shaheed now. Shaheed Muradi is his name. He lives in Iran. He's a Jawan. He's a matami as well. You know, in Iran you've seen a a lot. They do matam in that way. He moves about that in this way. His wife would say when everyone was there, he'd do extra matam. He'd do more. Seen as zani. Okay. The time comes by Shaheed Qasim that you have to go fight in Shaam now. He's part of the battalion. He goes to Shaam when Daesh were invading in that land. This man Muradi fights and dies outside the Haram of Sayyid alayhi salam. His soul has reached Allah already. When they found his body, they noticed a strange thing. There were bullets covering every part of his body, his legs, his arms, his head, but not his chest. His whole body is covered in wounds, but not his chest. And they'd never seen anything like this. They went back, they took his body back to his wife and said, why is it? She said, this is the answer. He would stay for matam longer than anyone. Because of that one deed, he did matam for the sake of Abu Abdullah saved his chest. If I do matam with this ma'rifat, you're not just doing mourning, you are getting ready for the Imam alayhi salam. You are dressed in your kafan now. Your arms are ready as arms of war. And this chest has been given to Abu Abdullah alayhi salam. If we forget this, the battle of the qalb, we don't see Ashura. But when we see the battle of the qalb, we see all of Ashura. And I'm saying, I want to be a part of that battle. I want to join that battle. I'm ready to fight with my Imam alayhi salam. And the more you fight, the more beautiful you become. That's why they say when Abu Abdullah alayhi salam fights on the day of Ashura, so we never see anyone, the more he fights, the more beautiful and nur comes from his body. He's picking up the bodies of his children, going back and forth from the maqtal. And when he's fighting alone for maybe 1 to 2 hours after Dhuhr and before Asr, he's still becoming more bright as he fights. This is the qalb of Abu Abdullah. That same qalb I mentioned yesterday has been trampled by the horses of Shaam and Kufa. Now come back to Karbala. Come back to those after Abu Abdullah who are now walking towards Shaam, walking towards Kufa. Their jihad, their struggle is the most great of the struggles. We always hear this narration that when Abu Abdullah was going to fight, before he goes, he hears a voice, Mahlan, Mahlan, Ya ibn al-Zahra. Wait, Ya ibn al-Zahra, don't go yet. He turns and sees Zainab comes towards him. She says, how can you leave without saying goodbye to me? How do they say goodbye? You've all heard the narration. Abu Abdullah goes to Zainab, Zainab goes to Abu Abdullah. Zainab kisses the neck of Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah kisses the hands of Sayyid Zainab. When he says, Ya Ummi Zainab, why have you just kissed my neck? She said, our mother Zahra told me, when you see Hussein walking away from you, know he's going for his shahada. And the next time you see him, a la'in will be sitting on his chest. Before the la'in sits there, give the kiss of a mother to her child on that neck. But then Zainab says, but why did you kiss my hands? Then he says, our mother told me another thing. She said to me, after you are killed, Abu Abdullah, you will be left, there'll be no one left when someone will tie Zainab's hands in ropes and chains and take her towards Kufa. So they meet each other in this way. Now they go towards Kufa. Hear these riwayats towards Kufa. As they're going, I always think of this one tradition. Zainab lived her life in Kufa, but she's never seen Kufa. Why? Such is the hijab of Zainab. When she leaves, it's either at night or Abbas is with her walking in front of her. Now she's going back to Kufa. Now not only she'll see Kufa, now Mahram will see see Zainab walking in this town. They say when Abbas goes to fight, she weeps and says, oh Abbas, my father told me there'll come a time we will be paraded through Kufa, and I never believed it. I have 18 brothers. What is you, Abbas? How can I go like this? But now I see you leaving me. I'm going to be walking through Kufa, through the streets and alleys of this land. They come to the land of Kufa. As they come, the narrations tell us, they sit, many of the women and children, upon camels with no saddles. Do you know why? This is the most painful punishment you can have. Your legs are constantly in discomfort. You can't rest, and the sun's on your head. They say Zainab is on one camel, Sajjad on another, and Sakina on another. And now they're walking on Karbala towards Kufa. How are they walking? They are on camels, but in front of them there are 72 spears carrying the heads of their beloveds. Yani if they look up, they see Abu Abdullah, Ali Asghar, Ali Akbar. If they look down, they see their own ghurbat. What do? They go towards Kufa. As they come close to Kufa, someone calls out and says, who are you people who are coming? Kulthum says, we are the daughters of Fatima. When they hear this, the woman of Kufa starts throwing hijab to them and say, if you are the daughter of Zahra, where is your hijab? Where is your rida? The woman kneels down, they pick up the hijab, they place it on their bodies. One riwayat I read today says Zainab jumps from the camel and goes the floor trying to find a hijab to put back on her head. As they jump, they say to them, where is your food? Take food. They start giving them nuts and fruits. Kulthum says, do you not know we are Sadat? It's haram for us to receive this. Give it to someone else. They say to them, you are Syed and you are Sadat. Who are you that you are coming dressed as captives? Kulthum says, do you see that head? That's the head of the son of Zahra, Hadha al-Hussein ibn Ali ibn Rasulullah. This is the head of Abu Abdullah. Now they enter to Kufa. The narration says they wait outside Kufa for many days. They're not been allowed to enter yet. So the women are coming giving them a hijab. Children are giving food, but they've not yet entered Kufa. After a few days, the door opens. As the door opens for the first time, Zainab sees Kufa, Kufa sees Zainab. They walk together, walking towards where? Towards the bar where you have Ibn Ziyad sitting there waiting for them. First the heads go, then the women come. So by the time they come in, they have seen the same heads of their family, and they are surrounded by Mahram watching them. Zainab sits down, all of them sit down. Someone says, who are you? They say, we are the Asiran of Karbala. Ibn Ziyad says, who is this one lady who is most great of all of you? She's silent. Again he says, who is this lady? She's silent. For the third time he says, who is this lady? They say, this is Zainab bint Ali. She's come back to Kufa. Zainab now stands and says, if you don't know who I am, I'll tell you. First I'll begin by saying, all praise be to Muhammad and Ali Muhammad and the family of Ali Muhammad. Do you not know what you have done? You have killed the most beautiful creation on this earth, Ibn Ziyad. We are the women and children, but you have killed the men already. Then she says to him, you should know, the blood on your hands of my brother Abu Abdullah, if you wash it from now until Qiyamah, that blood will never stop coming on your hands. Then they say, Sajjad and Zainab, sit down, don't speak anymore. Why? He looks and sees, while Zainab is speaking, Ibn Ziyad is sitting, he calls for the head of Abu Abdullah. While Zainab is speaking, he takes that head in one hand and one stick in the other. Zainab keeps speaking and he keeps striking the teeth of this. Sajjad says, Zainab, stop speaking, meaning he can't bear to see the head of Abu Abdullah in the hand of the Na'een while Zainab is talking. Then the Na'een says, who are you to stop me? What's your name? Sajjad says, Ana Ali ibn al-Hussein. I'm Ali the son of Hussein. He says, I already killed Ali ibn Hussein. I've heard there's one son called Ali who was killed. He says, yes, that was my brother Ali Akbar. Do you see this head, which is the most beautiful of all the heads, which looks like Yusuf right now? That's my brother, but I am Sajjad, and I have come to show you, even though you killed Abu Abdullah, you killed Ali Akbar, the blood of Ali still runs in my body. Don't touch him, come towards me. So they say, when he says this, Ibn Ziyad says, strike him, kill him now. When he says this, Zainab jumps and says, before your sword touches Sajjad, you will have to kill me, for I am the one who protects the Imam when the Imam has left us. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, ridha wa qadahi wa taslim bi amri. Ya Allah, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. For the sake of Sayyid Zainab, all those prisoners who are Shia, let them all be freed, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, all of those poets, those disciples of Azadari who have died on this path, let us follow their footsteps in Jannah, Ya Allah. And finally, Ya Allah, all these tears we are shed, let there be the forgiveness of even those sins we are ashamed to admit, that they all be forgiven for the sake of these tears, Ya Allah.
إلهي آمين.
اللهم إني أسألك بحق فاطمة وبها بعد يا بنيها والسر المستعوذ فيها عن صلى الله عليه محمد ماتم الحسين.
يا حسين يا حسين